So how do you do schema markup for questions and answers? Glenn Gabe on December 5th called out on Twitter that there's these new answer cards in search. And you can see the example here where there's two answers and one you can see has the best answer. And this best answer is because the schema markup contains accepted answer markup. So you may not know, but that there's two different types of answers, suggested answer and accepted answer. And it looks like Google is now providing a specific feature if you use the accepted answer. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how do you actually make sure that it's clear what is this best answer? So if we actually look at the example that Glenn Gabe looked at, you can see here on the right-hand side, there's actual markup for accepted answer. And this is really interesting because it's on Stack Overflow where people are suggesting different answers. So there's lots and lots and lots of different answers. But what they've done is they've used the upvote to identify which answer people have voted as the best one, and then added the accepted answer markup in order to show that. And so what we want to do in the Schema app is show you, when you're doing your markup for question and answers, how do you add this property accepted answer so that you contribute to getting that great rich result. So let's go ahead and look at Schema app and how we do this. So what you can see here is actually, I'm in Schema app under the structured data editor, and I have my Shopify FAQ question one. And so let me show you what this actually looks like. So this is the question I'm looking at. So it's where can I learn more about schema markup? Now you can see that there's 4 different answers here. I provide sort of links to a couple different things. Our definition of what is structured data and schema markup, Google's documentation, Google's knowledge graph, and then a little bit also about our tool. And so of these, I would say like the best answer is probably Google's documentation. This is sort of going to give you the rundown of exactly what it is, as well as sort of, how it shows up in search. And so when I was doing the markup in Schema app, you can see I created the question, and then I have 4 different answers just representing those same 4 answers that you can see on the screen. And then one of them specifically is called accepted answer. And so if I go ahead and click on accepted answer, it's no different from the answers I've created previously, with the exception that it's now an accepted answer versus just a suggested answer. And where I've seen this kind of play out is if there's, again, a tech support document that has, try these 2 things, but we believe this will actually fix the problem, that we believe the thing that they think, is going to be your best bet is really sort of what is it we should put in that accept answer. So let's go ahead and look at how we would go ahead and create this. So what we're going to do is go ahead and create a new question. And so let's use the example of, we'll sort of, think of a different here, does schema, we'll kind of think of, what JSON-LD has created is probably not a great one. But does Schema app for Shopify use microdata? Oh, that's not a good one either. So let's just go ahead and create a similar one that we did before on like how to sort of learn schema markup. So here we're going to go to Schema app, and you're going to, how can I learn schema markup? And again, in Schema app, the URI is going to be the page that it's on. So in this case, it's going to be on our Shopify page. And whenever I'm doing question and answers, because there could be multiple on the page, I tend to like to do sort of, a hashtag question one. And I think we don't need that second piece, that second hashtag there. So we'll put a question one here so we're really clear about like what question it is. And again, you might have multiple questions on a page on an FAQ. And so this allows you to sort of have a unique URI to reference. So then we're going to put in the text. So the text of the question is actually going to be the same here for my name. I'm again going to use my URL. And in this case, the URL is just the URL because I'm not sort of needing to do it. Now here you can see I have suggested and accepted answer. Now if there's only one answer, you'll go ahead and just create that data item, and we'll say, Google's structured data documentation. And I'm going to call it answer 1. So I have multiple answers. Again, I want to sort of make sure that I have a unique way to call that out. So here it's, using my hashtag question 1. I think I'll just remove that and I'll just call it hashtag answer. I'm going to call it 1 to keep it unique. Is, you never really want more than one accepted answer. Ideally, then you would just create the others under suggested answer. And so I'll go ahead and create a data item for the suggested answer is, what is schema markup? Documentation schema. And so we're going to call this one, again, we'll just call it hashtag answer 2. And I'll call it 22, only because I had a previous one that was 22. And so here, what is schema markup? This is the one we're going to do here. We'll go ahead and click OK. And then you can add as many others that you want. Now, the other thing you want to do is make sure you fill out publisher, since it's in the required and recommended. So we're going to put in here Crunch Manifest, or whatever organization is publishing it. And then I really like the about. What is this question about? So in this question, like, we're talking specifically about schema.org. And so if we type in schema.org into Wikipedia, we'll go ahead and look for that, select that, and submit. Again, you can use the Wikipedia lookup. If there's another website that sort of talks specifically about it, then you can link there. And so these are really the minimum ones that we want to go ahead and click. So you're going to go ahead and click Save. Now, you want to go ahead now and add more detail about each of the answers. So let's start with the accepted answer. And we'll go ahead and edit it. And so under the accepted answer, it's going to ask me a couple things too. So it's going to ask me what is the actual text. So in this case, it's the Google structured data documentation. And I could even put in sort of the URL here if I wanted to. So let's go ahead and go there. Intro to structured data, just so that it's all linked together. Again, I can use the about, so I might use the about again to say this answer is about schema.org, and then that way it's calling it out specifically. And then again, you have all these other properties that you could do. So other things that you want to call out. Again, sort of I use primarily the text as the answer. And so if you have a longer form answer, so let's say it's a bigger question, such as the one that we saw with jQuery, you put all that text in there. There's no limitations. And then again, you can use your understanding about like what's on that answer page and what's contributing to it to kind of add it in here. You might find though that those two basic things are good enough. So go ahead and click on Save. And then you do the same for the other answers as well. So you go back, let's say it's an incoming reference from the question. And then you can go ahead and fill that in for the suggested answer as well. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and see the JSON-LD. If you're using our automatic deployment, you can just click Save and you're done. Or you can go ahead and, oh, that's never good. Go ahead and get the JSON-LD and see that question and answer markup. And that will show up very similarly to how we see it here. Again, sort of, here they have an image included, but here will be the text. And then the accepted answer again with your text and your name. And so that's how you go ahead and create schema markup using Schema app for question and answer. And see what questions you have. So based on that presentation, what questions do you have about question and answer schema markup? Do you see how you could use that sort of in your business for question and answers about your business or your QA?